Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with the Coach. We're not but about, a month, maybe 2 months late, but we are glad to be back. We are following the social distancing rules as to meet the university's standards. And we're glad to start the year with Travis Rundle, and a little bit more about him just in a minute. But I do want to thank Leighton and Mark Webb, our athletic director, for allowing us to start Coffee with the Coach back up. There's been a lot of folks who've wondering if we're ever going to have Coffee with the Coach again. A lot of people looking forward to it. Those folks who are looking forward to it are sitting at home right now. As of this moment, there are 3 of us in the tavern. That'd be me, the football coach, and Leighton Jackson, our sports information director, producer of the program, director of the program. Leighton has been working on this and to get us ready, and we are glad to be back. Dennis, good morning. Hope you're watching this morning. I know you were used to doing that from afar for the last couple of years, and thinking about you today. Got your picture hanging on the wall. Coffee with the Coach. Travis Rundle is our football coach, and he is, shall we say, he has had a different year this year. And I'm not going to try to tell you anything about what they've been doing because I haven't been out there. We haven't been out a whole lot, but anyhow. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Travis Rundle, the head football coach for Sewanee. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. It's great to be here. I think we need to have maybe some piped in applause and laughs coming up to where, there we go.
I'm working
Make
on
it a little easier when we get some of those jokes going. But thanks for having this all set up and putting everything into it. It's definitely a thing I always look forward to, coming and be able to talk about our program and everything that the young men are doing with it. So thanks for the opportunity, and thanks, Dennis, for getting this set up way back when. And Jimmy, thanks for allowing us to use the tavern in this great place and great setup. Plenty of space for the 3 of us to be hanging out, in which we go through. You hit on it, so it's definitely been different, right? Going through all the way since spring, and constantly what we could do, what we couldn't do was always changing. And I think our staff has done an amazing job. Our assistant coaches did an amazing job of being able to adapt on the fly when all the rules were changing, really from July up until when we started in August. It seemed like every week something would change in what we could do, what we couldn't do, and our coaches put together a great plan to allow our student athletes not just to be on campus, but to be able to go through all of our lifting, running, workouts. And we just completed, at the end of last week, we completed 5 weeks of practice going through. We were able to make it through really without losing anybody in those 7 weeks. We had 2 weeks of lifting before, without losing anybody to any type of contact tracing or anything like that. We were pretty safe through it. So what we've been doing, I'll talk about what we've been doing, because that's probably a big question for a lot of people. We did report early. We reported 10 days early. I think when we came in, it was about 7 to 10 days early. When we came in, the move-in schedule had already been set for everybody, and so we had to find time to fill. So what do? We're not practicing. We couldn't practice. We couldn't have guys together, and so we had to get really creative on just filling time with the guys since we're here before classes started. And it turned into, we bought foam rollers for everybody, and they'd stretch and do a foam roll in the morning. We'd do Zoom meetings. And then within their pods, of what we called it, within groups of 8 people that were on the same dorm or floor, they'd be social distance, but they would get out and really utilize the entire campus of just doing some team chemistry stuff, getting out, maybe go hiking, A bunch of guys were playing golf. I think that's been an amazing deal for our student athletes. And one thing that we probably push more in recruiting than anything now is the golf course that's on our campus, and our guys being able to get out there and easily social distance and have some fun. And so we filled up time with the guys going through up until classes started. Once we started classes, we got into lifting, and all we're able to do is we can have 10 guys working out together at a time. And when you have 90 players that you're trying to get through, that makes it into some long days. So we started at 6 a.m. We'd have a lifting group at 6 a.m., 7:15, 9 o'clock, 10:15. I think we had one at 12:15, 1 o'clock. So we were going through with 10 guys at a time. We'd have 10 guys in the weight room going through a 45-minute workout. And at that same time, we'd have 10 guys outside on the TRX. It's these straps that you use, a lot of body weight stuff. And we did a lot of unilateral exercises to build just a lot of mobility and flexibility in the hips and allow our guys to become better athletes. So we would do a 45-minute workout on that. And if that was on Monday, then those guys would switch on Wednesday. So they would, if they're in the weight room on Monday, they'd go outside to the TRX stuff on Wednesday and flip and go through. So it was a great way for us to be able to find a way to adapt to train, because you couldn't get 30 to 40 guys in the weight room anymore. And we had to follow the rules that the school had in place and the facility rules. And I think our players did a great job of adapting to that. So we had 2 weeks of just the lifting, going through it, and then we had to follow the 3-phase plan for what we had with Sports Institute and NCAA and what they had set up. And with that, it was the first week, all we were allowed to do was doing just conditioning and running. We weren't allowed to have a football or anything out there. So it was just a lot of agility drills, speed drills, get guys moving that way. And then we were able to progress to where we could have a football out there, but we couldn't. You couldn't share it, right? So you had to go through. So we purchased a couple nets for the QBs to throw into, because if they threw in the net, they could go retrieve their own ball and go through it. And that definitely made the QBs become really, really accurate, because if you miss a net, that's a pretty long run to go get that ball. So those guys, the first couple days of that was a little rough. You'd sit back there. The spot where I was, you could see a couple balls go flying through, but towards the end of that, they got a lot better of hitting that stuff. So the QBs had the nets, and then once we progressed from that, we were able to get into a regular practice. But all you could do was you had 15 minutes that you could be together, and then we'd break it up for 15 minutes. So we broke up. Practice was a lot of 15-minute segments of individual period, and then we'd get together for a team period, and then we'd go back to do an individual walkthrough period. To where we were out there for maybe an hour and 15 minutes. So it wasn't the usual 2 hours, hour and 15 minutes that we're usually used to for practice. So it moved quick, but we did an amazing job with the players of getting through and getting a lot of work in those 5 weeks of practice. And I think the big shout out, probably the MVP so far of the entire athletic department, has definitely been Ray Knight. Going through, he came up with the plans, and anytime things were changing, we'd bounce off our practice schedule and plan with him to get thumbs up, thumbs down on what we're doing. So he was a big help from the organization standpoint. And then really once we started going, he's the only athletic trainer that we had. Usually we have a couple more. And so he did a great job of keeping our guys healthy and going through it, being out there. And really without him, the whole thing would have shut down going through. So we were definitely lucky to have Ray going through. For sure, the most important person that we had going through with everything. So that was our 5 weeks as we went through it. I thought, as I said, our guys did a great job. We finished it up. So we did a walkthrough on a Friday. We didn't put any pads on, and then last Saturday we had the team out. We hiked the perimeter trail. So we went. We had everybody start. We didn't have everybody finish the full 21 miles, but we had a majority of guys did. We had a large group go through. It was a great opportunity for people to get out and do something that they're not going to do just on their own. I don't think anybody's going to wake up and say, hey, let's go do this, at least within the program. But when you're out there, the guys definitely enjoyed getting through and pushing themselves through to do the whole 21 miles. I know we had one group with Coach Wallace. I think they finished in like 6 hours and 25 minutes. They pushed it pretty quick. So Coach Wallace, he led out the main group, and then Coach Rogers, Coach Crowley were spread out in the middle. And I was kind of the sag wagon and bringing everybody up from the rear, anybody that would get lost or something or fell behind. I was kind of that last one off the trail to make sure we didn't lose anybody out there going through it. So everybody made it back, and then we had a big barbecue afterwards. Brought some food in from outside, I think, just to reward the guys of getting them something, because we've been on campus. Guys have done a really good job, and wanted to reward them with something that they haven't had or been able to have. So we went outside and had a New Market barbecue from Alabama. New Market, Alabama came up, and they provided a great spread. I think we had like 75 pounds of pork and turkey and brisket, a bunch of mac and cheese, green beans, some cake, lemonade for everybody. And it was their first time catering for a college team, and so when I was talking to them on what we needed, she came back with the first quote. She was, "Oh, this should be enough." And I was like, "That's not even near what we need." And so we got it all. The guys loved it, and it was great food. It was a great way to really cap off what we did practice-wise of the guys working hard. And then we gave everybody this past week off. Told them not to, we don't want to see you. Don't come around. Just kind of let your bodies heal up. Get back to classes. Doing a great job with that. And then this week, today, we started back up where we're lifting and running with everybody again. And we won't practice or put any pads on. There'll just be a lot of individual stuff in the afternoon when we do that. But right now we're lifting and getting guys going that way, so that's been pretty good for us. And we're looking forward to it. I think it's been great. With our seniors have done an amazing job. I've said that a bunch, but couldn't be happier. We didn't lose anybody. When we found out in July that we weren't going to have a season, that was a really tough phone call to make. So I called all the seniors myself, just to let them know that, hey, this is what's going on. They had a lot of apprehension. When we first called, they were really good. There's some apprehension of, what are we doing in the fall? If there's not a guarantee, like, what are we doing this for? We had a bunch of meetings with them. They did a great job. I laid out the plan of, hey, this is what we expect. This is what we want to see. And they met all the expectations. So that's been it's been really good to see their leadership go through, because a lot of programs and coaches I talked to, they'd have seniors just kind of toss it in, and we didn't have that. All of our guys hung through and stuck with it. And I was really proud of those guys going through. And they had the option of going in pads or not in practice, so they didn't have to go through all the contact. They'd earned the right. A lot of our seniors have played in a lot of football games for us, so there's no need for them to go through the contact stuff. They have all that down, and it allowed our freshmen and sophomores really to get more reps when we were going through in the pads with it, which was nice to give those guys a lot more work. The seniors would go through the individual stuff, whatever we didn't have pads on, and then they had the option of not continuing or going through when we did have contact. So a few guys would go through contact, and some wouldn't. Some guys alternated days. They'd get bored one day and decide they want to put the pads on and go. But they did a really good job with that. And I think, too, overall, we really only lost in when we said we weren't playing, and the school was all the rules that we had going on. There was really only one player. He was an incoming freshman who decided this isn't for me, and going through it. So we were able to hold on to everybody, which says a lot about the character of the young men that we recruit and that we attract here to Sewanee. And the way that we recruit, we tell them, like, you're picking this place for the education. Also the football program, but we don't sell it football first when we're recruiting. And that showed when we don't have the season and everybody's still in the program going through it. So we're doing the right things that way, going through. So we really enjoy that. It's been nice. And recruiting's off to a really good start. I think really since the pandemic hit, a lot of those guys they were juniors and now they're seniors had a lot of free time. And so before, when you text guys asking for transcripts and things in the late spring or early summer, you may get like 5 out of 20 to reply to you. When the pandemic was going on, everybody was at home. It was like 20 out of 20 would reply to you. And usually within a minute, you'd have the transcript. So we were able to, through the admissions office and Jeff Heisenreiter, doing an amazing job. We had over 300 pre-reads come back positive as likely admits for what we've done. And you probably read close to 400 transcripts for us. And we're already at 106 applications right now, so we're ahead of the ball game. really going in for this recruiting class, and we were able to, on Saturday, bring recruits up for the first time for open campus visits. Met with them outside in one of the tents that we were using at Fulford Hall for the COVID testing, and so that was nice. It was raining, so we started out at the stadium, and we were able to just move under one of the tents, so that's been a big help for us there, having that. And did the first visit. We had three families up, and it was good. We have more starting up again tomorrow going through, so it's been pretty good. Any questions, Leighton?
We do have a couple, but I do want to segue real quick. As we are going to be doing these multiple instances where we have a live stream, which we're doing now. We're also going to have it available on an archive, so people may be catching this on demand. Just want to remind everybody who are live, they can put a comment into the comment feed on our Facebook page, or just let us know that you're here. We do miss the people that are here on a weekly basis, so I do want to mention that as we segue in. One question that did come through that I will answer about playing in the spring. Currently, the schedules are being reviewed in our process. We do have a schedule finalized, but I'm not going to announce what the schedule is. There is a process that has to go through in terms of going to the athletic directors, into the conference presidents of each institution. So right now, the answer is we don't know. We're still kind of playing we're still kind of figuring out what the options are on playing this spring. That's for all of our sports, not just football, all of our basketball, spring sports, and all of the fall sports that are not playing this fall. So one question that came through on social media yesterday when we promoted Coffee with the Coach, Alex Darris, great quarterback for us in 4 years, or 3 years, I guess, since transferred from Furman. Hit injury bug a couple times. It was bad for him. I hated that for him. He was a really good player, really good person in the classroom as well. How's the quarterback situation been going so far in fall camp?
Yeah, we had three. We started out with four. We moved one to wide out. So we had three young men going through the process. And really, they're all neck and neck. I think they did a really strong job of progressing through the 5 weeks. I wouldn't say that any one of the three really separated themselves through it. So it was Grayson Baker, Cooper Hancock, and Tucker Kirk all went through. And we're looking forward to, once we start up again in the spring, of seeing how the competition progresses. But we were happy with the development of all three going through, and if we had to play multiple guys in a game, I think we'd be okay doing it. I think we have guys that all hit different skill sets between the three of them, and so if there's different packages or stuff that we need to have in, we'd be comfortable going with that. But right now, it's really neck and neck. I wouldn't say that any one of the three was head and shoulders above really anybody else. So we're happy with the development going through, and it's also good with that competition. Those guys are constantly working to make themselves better. I think it's fun to see guys out there. As I walk home, I walk past the football field, and there'll be guys out there throwing. We've had more guys getting extra work in really since January through now than what we had previously. So that's been a lot of fun to see.
Jimmy did ask some questions. He's unable to watch live. Hopefully he'll be catching this on an archive later tonight. Mentioned the odds of playing football in the spring. I already mentioned that a little bit. And I kind of want to add to the second one about Barry being the prohibitive favorite, considering you have no info on any of the teams right now. But Austin leading the conference, going back to the American Southwest Conference. What does that do in terms of your conference schedule? I know we get to pick up one extra non-conference game starting next year in fall of 21. So just talk about what does that mean to you all about, we lose one Texas team, so we still have one in the conference, and I guess it was kind of the plan from the beginning was to have two. So what are your thoughts about just Austin leaving and moving what this 7-game conference schedule is going to be?
Yeah, I think it definitely it opens up a non-conference opponent for us, and we went through with the league coaches, and we talked about how we'd like the schedule to be set up, and we're going to have the first 4 weeks are going to be available for 3 non-conference games. So anywhere in those first 4 weeks, you play 3 non-conference games, and then you would have a bye, and then you get into playing the league conference straight through. And the good thing when we had Austin College, we were able to alternate. You played one game on the road, one at home, one on the road, one at home, and that was last year. We were able to get that set up. There were some math students at Berry. They were able to put together that schedule and get that going. It was a 6-year schedule that they had set out, and we were able to use it for one, going through it. But they put together, there's a new league schedule that I think is just waiting for approval, that we've got together. And the home away matchups will really fit in what was supposed to be this year for the league, when all that stuff gets approved. But I'd like to see us get another team. I don't know where that comes from and how you find it. I know within our league we can't actively go search out teams. They kind of have to find us, is the way it was explained to me. So hopefully there's maybe some behind the scenes kind of work going on to find another team to bring in. But it was a scramble to find that non-conference game. Really, we had to find two. We were supposed to open with school out in North Carolina, and then 2 weeks ago they just said, hey, we won't be able to do that next year for budgetary reasons or whatever. And so we had to go find a new opponent for week 1, and then with the league change, we had to find a week 3 opponent. We were able to pick those up pretty quick going through it. So we're going to open with a team up in Minnesota, going up to Duluth, Minnesota to play College of St. Scholastica. And it was funny, I was talking with Dickie about it, and Dickie and Joe Dombrowski, when we have to fly, they truck our equipment for us, so when we go to the airport, we're able to just get right in and get out. And Dickie was laughing. He's like, man, I'm not making that drive. I said, Dickie, it's the same distance, maybe like 30 minutes more than San Antonio when we go to Trinity. And he pulled up the map and was like, oh, yeah, you're right. So sometimes you don't realize just how far it is to get to San Antonio going through it. So we'll be up to Minnesota. I think that's probably the farthest north a lot of our players have ever been. So I think they're definitely happy that it's going to be in September and maybe not like a November game that we're going up there. But we'll save that trip for the playoffs. We have to make that. So we'll have College of St. Scholastica that we'll open up with. We'll still stick with W&L for our second non-conference game. And then Westminster College out in Missouri will be our third non-conference game. And that'll be a 4-year contract that we have set up with them. St. Scholastica is a 2-year contract so far.
And we'll have that updated on our football schedules once the conference approves the
league
revised conference schedule. I've been to Wisconsin on a bus with a football team when I was in grad school, so I know the grind of a. Be thankful that your guys are flying to Minnesota and not driving on a bus to. I think we stopped in Chicago, north of Chicago, for the hotel, or somewhere in Wisconsin, and then went up to Whitewater. So yeah. Couple questions here, just to give Dan credit to know that Carolyn is watching. She is watching, and she just asked a question. Travis, you did a lot of work over the pandemic about when we were in quarantine about voting and the importance of doing with the voting. You work with the Office of Civic Engagement here on campus. Yeah. Talk about that with how that all, I guess, started a little bit. We had some podcasts that you did with other organizations during the spring and the summer. So talk about the voting side of things with your guys. Yeah,
that was definitely something that got a lot more exposure than what I initially thought. I thought it would just start out within our team, and then was talking to a few coaches, and they caught on, loved it, and all of a sudden, now I'm talking with women's volleyball and women's basketball coaches all across the country. But the big thing that started was, you had the election coming up, a lot of stuff going on. I thought the easiest way for our players to have an impact, really on anything with what was going on and all the civic leadership type stuff that was happening within the country. The biggest impact was for voting. I think, and a lot of our players wanted to do something, they didn't know what. And so it's like, all right, we'll get everybody registered to vote. We'll kind of educate them on, here's the ballot of what you need to look at, how you find your local representatives, who's running, and really educate them on what's happening in their area. And was looking at our roster first, and was like, we'll have November 3rd. We'll just take the whole team out and we'll vote on campus. And I'm looking at our roster, and not one person was from Franklin County. And to me, it's like, that doesn't make sense to have our guys voting on local elections. And so I started looking at, the absentee voting and what was going on state by state. And so I started putting together a spreadsheet of just going down all the states our guys were in. And here's all the dates, necessary dates. And as I was talking about that, somebody on campus was like, hey, you really need to meet with Lauren McDonald and going through the Office of Civic Engagement. They have something that'll probably be able to help you. So talking with her, our Turbo Vote platform actually did all that work. So instead of me going through searching state by state, putting it all in a spreadsheet of, hey guys, these are the dates that you need to be applying for. We register. You can register to vote. You can check your registration. You can say I want to vote by absentee ballot, or if I'm going to vote in person. They email you. Hey, this is you need to apply for your absentee ballot by this date. They email you everything you need. You just print it out, send it in, and that's been really, really good for our players in that and getting them registered. And then from there, we talked a lot about having an impact in your local election, right? So knowing, when you're voting for your sheriffs and your judges and your local representatives, those people can make changes faster in your community than what's going to happen with the president, whoever you vote for on the president. So what's your local stuff is really more important than what's going to happen at a national scene. So educating everybody on that, because I think a lot of our guys, first time they're voting, and they have no idea. They're thinking that, all right, I'm just going to vote for the president. And then you see the ballot, you're like, all right, like who are these people? And you need to know who you're checking that box off for. So it was never, hey, this is who you need to vote for. It says, hey, this is how you get info on your ballot. This is how you can follow the people. There's different apps and websites you can go to see, how your representatives vote, who they vote for, follow them on social media, see what they're about and what they're posting on, and find out who you like for yourself and what kind of fits your needs. And so we started talking about that, got in contact with one of my friends, Brian Norwood. We were on the staff together at Penn State. He's now at UCLA. He loved that. He said, hey, I'm going to run this through. Our guys got on, was involved with UCLA football. He called me at like 11 p.m. one night and just said, hey, Coach Niumatolo at Navy really likes this idea and he wants you to give him a call at midnight. It's like, oh man, all right. You kind of got one shot to kind of go through this. So talked with him. They loved it. Their players use it at Navy. And then from there, Coach Norwood grouped myself, a coach at the College of San Mateo, and through the Navy staff. And we put together this like civic leadership initiatives type program where the three of us would talk about the different things that we were doing with the voting. Coach Tulloch over at the College of San Mateo had something with just kind of involving the police and police reform and things in their area. And then also with Navy was about building stuff on campus with it and getting the faculty involved and just some civic leadership stuff within your program and going through. So the three of us really would get in on Zoom meetings and talk to college coaches across the country and college athletes on these are some actionable things that you can do within your program right now. And that was a lot of fun of getting exposed to women's basketball coaches, softball coaches, women's volleyball coaches, men's basketball coaches all across the country with it. And I think the thing that we're really trying to stress, I'm trying to stress is, voting can't be like curling where you're interested in it every 4 years. Like when the Olympics come on and all of a sudden like everybody's fired up and you're Googling curling and going through it. But the same thing with the voting and your involvement, it shouldn't just be every 4 years. It needs to be any time that election's coming up, having a say in your hometown with what's going on. So that's been a big push with our guys.
I've been voting for 60 plus years.
Yeah.
I started when I was 18. I think the first president I voted for was Eisenhower. Long time ago.
Not a bad one to start with.
Yeah, I can say the same thing. I was 18 in the election year of 08. So that was one of the big things of going to the poll that morning with my mom. I was late for school for it. So when I got to school, the secretary was like, oh, this is a good excuse. Because they saw the I voted sticker. And then, ironically, my first class was government. So that rest of that period, and even into the next class that I was in, we talked about how it was, what did you do? They always want to ask who I voted for, but that's not important.
Yeah.
It's more of just the experience of being that first time voting and just enjoying it, and having my mom there with me was even more a fantastic situation to see her only son to be able to vote in a general election. And you're right, one of the things that I was taught growing up too with that was to do your research on your candidates, local, federal, state, national. Do your research, and that's an awesome thing to see. And I know you've had some success with it. Our volleyball program here has had some success with it. They're now fully registered to vote. So it's an awesome thing to see. It's a great opportunity for your kids. I know we've still got some time. I know Tennessee has passed, but other states are still absentee ballots are still in the final days. So if you haven't gotten the opportunity yet, please vote if you can.
Yeah, it was nice. Nancy invited me to be on a Zoom meeting with the volleyball program and kind of talk about, what we were doing and some ways to make it work for a program. So that was fun to be able to talk with another athletic team on campus and meet a little bit of the volleyball team with them.
And the Office of Civic
voting
Engagement.
start today?
Say again?
Early voting start today?
I think in Franklin County, yes. I saw the absentee ballots on the messenger, but I'm not sure. Couple comments. Lori Tips says San Antonio's worth the drive. I don't know. Y'all fly every year, so it's not worth it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Dickie and Joe, when they go, I think they try to take two different ways. They'll go down I-10 one way and go up 35 the other way. I don't know why. It is what it is. Melissa's waving. Melissa Williams, good morning to you. I don't have anything else right now. Dan, I do have a couple things that I have available, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask me questions if you have any.
I just was wondering about the grade level of your quarterback students. You said you had 3.
Yeah. Yep. So and it goes junior, sophomore, freshman.
Great.
So one in each class.
Great.
Yeah.
One other thing I was wondering, with the NCAA granting seniors another year of eligibility, will that have any effect on your team, do you think? Or our guys graduate and go on.
Yeah, and that's the big thing about it is I think the majority of our guys already have plans of, hey, this is what I'm doing, either with graduate school or actually having a job. And two, what you got to pay, right? I think that's we're not on scholarship, and so to me it doesn't make sense to tell somebody to push that.
It'll probably make a difference to D2 and D3.
Division one, and that gets into like scholarship numbers and what's available, and kind of messing up some plans.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we don't have to try to figure out the math on that with scholarship numbers and how you make that work. And what's happening? We do have one, maybe two that will come back next year. The one I think will probably take the spring semester off and then just finish up in the fall. And the other young man, I'm not sure what he's doing yet, but the majority of our guys will move on. To me, it doesn't make sense to ask somebody to pay an extra year or two, even just to put their plans on hold to do it. It's the individual choice with those guys what they want to do. But everybody, you don't lose the year of eligibility this spring if we play this spring. You don't lose it.
And the good thing about that is, from our perspective, is a lot of our kids will go to graduate school and may have an opportunity to walk on at another school to say, hey, I have another year of eligibility. The perfect example I can give of this, and I hate using it, but it's the best example, is when Jared Demkowitz, the baseball team, got hurt his junior year. And it's a different situation because the NCAA requires you to play at least, I think, in 33% of your games or half of your games to earn that or get that year of eligibility. So if you get hurt, you can file a waiver and add that extra year of eligibility. So he's going to be able to do that at Lee, where he is right now in grad school. So I think that kind of gives our kids the opportunity to saying, hey, you can finish your career here. No, you got another year of eligibility if you want to play football at another school.
Yeah.
It may be a D2 school, and they may have some extra scholarship money available for you to play one semester, 1 year with the team. So,
Baseball coach at least in my opinion. I coached in the church league softball.
Anything else?
I don't have anything else. Carolyn stole my question. So
All right.
just
I will add two things real quick.
Yeah.
Lori Tips is right. San Antonio's worth a drive, especially if you go to the original restaurant too, right there on the Riverwalk. It's our spot where we take the team. That she really helps set up. So we'll fly down when we play Trinity. We go down to San Antonio. We have to take the early flight. Just it's the cheapest flight within the budget. So we're on the bus at like 5:30, 6 a.m. to leave here to go to the airport. We get to San Antonio like 10 or 10:30. Then we'll take the guys at Riverwalk. There's a Mexican restaurant called The Original right on the Riverwalk that puts together an amazing buffet for the guys. We let them eat pretty well. Let them walk around the Riverwalk, and we take them over to the Alamo, and then we get to the hotel and go through. But Lori's done an amazing job really getting all that set up the first time and helping out each time we've gone there. And then the last thing I'll hit on is our guys at the end of last semester. I didn't have a chance to come on and talk about it, but at the end of last semester, our guys finished with the highest GPA within the football program that anybody within our athletic department can remember. And our athletic director, I won't say how many years he's been here, but he's been here a number of years. It said that was the highest that he can remember. So our guys did an amazing job with that. You do think a lot of that was some of the, being online, so maybe the classes didn't grade as tough in the end with it, but they did a strong job of asking what we did to really step it up in the classroom. And we'll have, I think, the most number of players in the order of the gown that we've definitely had since I've been here, and probably in a long time with it. There's some guys that did an outstanding job in the classroom, really the last 2 semesters to be able to earn their gown, and a good number of freshmen were doing. So we'll have a lot of gold stickers to hand out with it.
A couple things real quick, and then we'll just want to remind everyone that if you are streaming live with us, feel free to ask a question in the comment or just wave and say, hi, you're here. Just want to make sure that we have that reminder out there. For those who are on demand with us, a reminder that we are live Monday mornings at 9 a.m. from the Blue Show Tavern. On Facebook Live, just head to SewaneeTigers.com, look for the social media piece in the bottom right-hand corner, or just search Sewanee Tigers on Facebook to find all you can find on Facebook. Brent Weatherly mentioned football. I'll just reiterate, we mentioned that earlier. Quickly, go back and look at watch the archive about the decisions that are going to be made by the ADs and the presidents about the schedule. Couple quick things real quick, and then we'll wrap up. One of the things that I learned about you, Travis, was this semester when you were on with Reverend Peter Gray. I don't know if you want to feel comfortable talking about this or not, but one of the things that you said that you talked about that no one knew about you was that you were a vegetarian.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I heard that.
Yeah.
I was like, football coach, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Talk about how that started and how that's been going for you and Sarah and the kids.
Yeah, so it's actually not vegetarian. I've gone just completely plant-based with it. Yeah. How it started out was we were asking our team, so at the end of last year, really asking them to make a lot of changes and, do get outside your comfort zone with what they're doing in terms of working out and really their commitment to everything and getting the program going where we want. I thought I couldn't just be telling them to do stuff and not make any real changes myself. And I just figured, let's go out on a limb and something that really stress myself and make it tough to be disciplined and follow. So I decided to go all plant-based with everything that I was eating, and I've enjoyed it. Definitely when McClurg was open, it was really easy. They have a lot of great options to make that possible. That probably helped me get started with it and find out what I like, what I can tolerate, what I need. But that's been, and it's not something I do talk about with it. I think I try to keep that, to myself with it. But I've definitely enjoyed it, and Sarah will try some of the stuff going through. Maybe not all of it, haven't, but. The kids definitely not, but they still enjoy cheeseburgers and French fries and all that stuff. But it's been, I say it was something that I want to do. Just we're asking our team to make a bunch of changes and be disciplined and all that. So I didn't want to just be doing the same things I've been doing. I wanted to make change myself to kind of go through. And I hadn't told the team really. There may be like 2 or 3 players that knew that was going on, but I guess obviously now a lot more people know.
Now I do.
Yep. So thank you, Travis. Couple final comments here. Speaking of your better half, Sarah says hi. And Lynn Jenkins-Baker says, thanks for your help with the guys thinking out of the box with food and workouts. I think that's been a huge thing for our department, not just football, for all of our sports, especially with our fall teams, knowing that I think for our students, when we finally made the decision for them to come to campus and be on campus for the semester, one of the things that I was in meetings with Mark and Ray and Dickie where we need to get these kids something to do. We don't need them to sit here, especially if they can't leave campus. I think this was a good opportunity for our coaches and our student athletes to get out there and get out there and enjoy what they love best. And I've seen that a lot with football. I've seen it with men's lacrosse, with volleyball, with women's basketball. Just to see the opportunity to have that opportunity for the student athletes to do something on campus. I mean, there's stuff that Campus Activities is doing, which is fantastic, but for our athletes, it gives them, I think, more of a purpose to be here more than just coming to class.
And I'll boost the YSR Club real quick too.
Yes.
I mean, to be able to think outside the box and provide different food options, we had to have amazing support. We've had that. I think I've had people reach out to me, how can I help? And we found ways for that to happen. Too, when I reached out to people, it was, you don't really have to ask questions. What do you need? Let's make it happen. So a lot of for us to think outside the box, we had to have a lot of support from the YSR Club, and that's been amazing for us so far. Like the barbecue that we did for the guys, that was a parent had stepped up and offered for that. A lot of the TRX stuff, to purchase the TRXs, that was somebody we reached out to. We've got a couple sleds too, because you couldn't have contact with people. So all right, well, you got to hit sleds, and so that was nice to be able to reach out to somebody and get all that. So the YSR Club has been phenomenal for us, and just really the support with everybody outside of our players. Anytime we needed something, they've really stepped up and allowed us to think outside the box.
And all that info is online at SewaneeTigers.com. Just go to the YSR Club, and there's info on where to donate. You can designate a donation to football or any sport on campus. So it's a great thing to have.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much. Next week, we will hear from our cross-country coach, Bill Cooper, and we look forward to having a good week. It's going to get a little cooler on the mountain, I think, this week. So anyhow, Sewanee's right. Let's go.